Welcome back to Sailor Moon Anime Review. This is part 2, and this one I'm reviewing the second season of Sailor Moon Crystal. The Black Moon. Yes, that is seriously the name of the season. Yeah, and I know that in the second season of the original show it's called Sailor Moon R, but it's a Black Moon one. And this one is only 12 episodes. Yeah, I finally finished it today. So yeah, it's 12 episodes, and today I only had like 2 episodes to do, and I was pretty much done. I wanted to finish the comic first before I get to this, but yeah. Um, with this season, you get used to one new Sailor Guardian and a new set of villains. Who is Sailor Guardian used to this season? Why, Sailor Pluto, voiced by the ever awesome Veronica Taylor. Those of you who don't know who she is, she was the original voice actress for Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. Yep, which makes it the second series I have actually watched where she does a voiceover. Yep. And no, I did not watch the 4Kids dub version of One Piece. The what I've heard, excuse me, for what she did with Robin, with Nico Robin, she gave her a southern accent for some reason. Like, I guess 4Kids thought Cowgirl hat, just give her a southern accent. Yep. But lucky enough, I actually got a chance to watch the Filmation dub, which is better than the 4Kids dub. But anyways, this is the Viz Media dub of this show. So, yeah. It's actually the first time I've seen her do something that's not 4Kids related when it comes to dubbing. And it's the first show outside of Pokemon where she voices a character. And first time I've seen where she voices an actual woman. And Sailor Pluto is quite different from the other ones. I mean, yeah, she is kind of a different skin color. It's kind of, I mean, when I saw a picture of her, I'm like, okay. It kind of looks like she's black. Yeah, she has a bit of a darker skin color, in a way. Yeah, and her hair is green. Yeah, her hair is green, which is a bit unusual for a female character to have. I mean, how often do you see a character in an anime who has green hair? It's a rarity. I mean, the most common other type of hair I've seen, aside from like blonde, brunette, redhead, and raven hair, has been blue hair or pink. Green is a rarity. Yeah, it's very rare you see green hair, but yeah. And look at her, she's about the same height as Sailor Jupiter. But her role is that she's a guardian of space and time. And she's a guardian of the underworld. Basically, she's named after Hades, the Greek god. Named Pluto basically is his Roman name that he went by. That's what the Romans called Hades. They call him Pluto. Yep. And she carries a big staff with her. It looks like a giant key. Yep. Now, with this particular season, it picks up right where the last season left off with introduced Chibiusa, voiced by, of course, the actress who's the current voice actress for Boruto, who's probably going to be voicing him when they finally start dubbing the Boruto Naruto Next Generation anime, Next Generation series. Now, Pluto is not introduced until a little over halfway through the season. Yeah, it takes about 8 episodes to, finally introduce her, and she's only in a handful of episodes, and she's used really, really well. But the main plot of the season is that, well, even though yes, it's a straight adaptation of the actual original source material, which basically it's 12 chapters, and from what I can tell, from what I remember from reading it, there's no real change, not at all. I mean, the only change I can maybe think of is the fact that Sailor Jupiter actually tells somebody who's not Tuxedo Mask, basically who's what's his name? I have to look him up here. I'll get to the Black Moon clan in a minute. There is this other character who Sailor Jupiter falls in love with, who is shorter than she is, and he's a classmate of Tuxedo Mask. Now, what is his name? Let's see here. Makito Ferreira, I think his name is. Yeah, I think he's some science. Yeah, I think he's the Let's see if I can get to him. Yeah, he's basically... Okay, I don't think it's this guy. No, I think it's somebody else. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to find out here. What is his name? I know it was in the episode which he was taken by the villains of the season. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why he found out because she was sick and he volunteered to take care of her, which nice of him to do that. Mm-hmm. Yes, it definitely was. Let's see if I can find her here. Asunuma. I have to look him up here. Um, let's see if I can find him. I know he's a classmate of Tuxedo Mask. I know that. I had to find him here. Let's see. Where is he? Come on, seriously? Yeah, it's taking a little while to load up here. Yeah, here's his name. Atito Asuma. Yeah, this is the guy who, he's voiced by Greg Furden. Now, he does find out about the Sailor Guardians, and he doesn't tell anybody about it. He basically keeps it a secret. I'm a little surprised they didn't basically make him a little more of a supporting character, because he's the first person outside the group to find out who the Sailor Guardians really are, because this would have been interesting, but as far as I can tell, the guy doesn't really do very much outside of this thing. He pops up a couple more times out of this thing, but he doesn't really do much of anything. Yep. Yeah, slowly throughout the season, 3 of the Guardians are kidnapped basically in the first 3 episodes. First, it's Sailor Mars, and then Sailor Mercury, and then Sailor Jupiter, and then what next was going to be Sailor Venus, but they stopped that, and then they decided to go to the future. Now, the Black Moon Clan, Prince Demand, who is basically not exactly the main antagonist of this season, but he's kind of like the leader of the clan while taking... He's actually sort of a puppet for the actual guy. Now, the guy who voices him is Matthew Mercer. Those of you who are Resident Evil fans know him as the voice of Leon S. Kennedy. Yep, it's that guy. Yep. There's also Crimson Rubus. He is voiced by Steve Cannon, or Steve Slay. Yeah, Steve Cannon is basically his stage name. He's been on Digimon Frontier, which I have seen. Koji, I don't remember who he is. I think he's the one. I think he's the lone line there. Oh yeah, this is the guy who voiced Neji. Yep, this is the guy who voiced Neji and Toshiro from Bleach. So yeah, I've seen him in a few. I've seen this guy in a few series. This is probably his third, or I think probably his 4th series I've seen this guy in now. But yeah, it's interesting the fact that you have him voicing him. Interesting. Greenhouse was actually the only, main female one of this group. She's voiced by Rena S. Mendel. There's no info on her. Then there's Blue Cipher, the younger brother of, Prince Demand. He is voiced by Greg Furden, same guy who voices, the character who Sailor Jupiter tells basically Secret of the Sailor Guardians. The Wise Man, who is the main villain of this season, he's voiced by Steve Kramer. Yep. Steve Kramer. Let's see. He is known for, he played Dark Honda from Power Rangers in Space. Basically, he was the main villain of Power Rangers in Space. And he also voiced the 3rd Hokage from Naruto, which, that's interesting. He's been in a couple Bleach movies, which I have seen. He's been on Bleach itself. He played Sensui, yeah. So, not many series. Oh yeah, he was also voiceover on Digimon. Of the seasons that are here, I've seen all of them except for Fusion. So, a handful of series. Pretty much by the same amount as the as well the guy who was the second guy, Rubus. Of course, Black Lady obviously is voiced by Sandy Fox. The Spectre sisters are, well, there's Conan, Brother, Prez, Carabas, yep. And these characters only seen for like one episode, and that 1 or 2 episodes, that's it. Brother is voiced by Cindy Robinson. Cohen's voiced by Eden Rigel. I think the second character she's voiced in the series, Cindy Robinson. I think she also voices one of the Sailor Guardians. Yes. Arson Randall, let's see. Let's see. Not much else I've seen with this woman in it. Well, I did see her in Bleach. That's really it. So, yeah, still basically a lot of people basically was on Bleach. Pez is voiced by, and this is in the business of Jessica Glee. Calaveras is voiced by Cassandra Morris. Yeah, let's see here. Oh yeah, she was on GX. She voiced a character named Yubel. I think I remember Yubel. Yeah, I think that was the female monster card who was in love with the main character, which is quite odd. And then they merged together. So yeah, she's been on GX, 5Ds. Yeah, I know I would mention Sword Art Online, but I haven't watched Sword Art Online, so. Oh yeah, she's been on Pokemon as much as like Mariah Taylor. Yep. You have the Botha brothers, voiced by Doug Erse and Kyle Herbert. There's a couple of characters who don't really have any role. Yeah, the Black Moon Clan was an interesting idea. I mean, unlike the previous season where the main villain was something from the Guardians' past, this one's basically from the future, which is quite interesting. And they travel back and forth a couple times, but it's not as much as you probably think. I mean, time travel for this particular season is not used very much. I mean, you only go to the 30th century, back at least twice over the course of the season. But that happens during the second half of the season, not during the first half, which got praised for that. But as far as I know, for all the arcs for Sailor Moon, this is the only one that involves time travel. Everything else is all present day stuff, and it's more of original villains after this one, not like, let's say, a villain from the past, nature from the past, or a villain who comes to harm who harms the present day from the future. So yeah, basically, I think it's more of a scientific base mixed with magic from this point on. But yeah. But overall, this was a really good season. Exciting. Chibiusa, during the last couple episodes, becomes Sailor. Well, in the Viz Media, they referred to it under its original translated title of Sailor Chibi Moon. In the original, I remember seeing some episodes of the anime referred to as Sailor Mini Moon. I kind of like Sailor Mini Moon, but Chibi Moon is fine. It's just Chibi is just a from what I know about it, it's just a nickname for somebody who's short, for someone who's a little kid. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, and just like in the manga, Sailor Moon does briefly see her future self for like a good 30 seconds, and then they have to go back. Of course, Tuxedo Mask obviously meets his past self briefly twice. I mean, he interacts with him a lot, but it doesn't really affect this whole thing of shattering the space-time continuum with him, because a lot of the time, future Tuxedo Mask, he's just a hologram. That's basically how he is throughout most of these. It's like he's basically the way he describes an astral projection. Now, the only character I can think of who's actually done this in fiction is Doctor Strange. Yeah, he's the only other character I can think of who's ever actually done this. Yeah, he only are good character anyways. And now I didn't notice this in the manga, but apparently Future Tuxedo Mask's cape underneath it is lavender, which I didn't even notice that at all. I mean, yeah, his suit is all completely white in the future, which I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense because of the future. But I do have kind of a question about Neo Queen Serenity's hair. At what point did it go white? Yeah. Also, they apparently state that apparently no one has died on Earth in 1,000 years, which I'm like, that's odd. Dang, that must mean that the funeral homes in the future must be going out of business because there's nobody dying. I don't know. Yeah, but it kind of begs the question of basically of in the future, what does Sailor Moon's friends outside of the Sailor Guardians, what do they do in the future? That was an interesting question. That's a question I had. While reading the original source material and of course watch this arc. It's like, what exactly does the other friends they do have um there's a geeky guy, Usagi's best friend outside of the main group. Yeah, what about their friends outside of the main group, like the minor characters? What do they do in the future? That would have been interesting to find out. Also, there was these four characters, the four Heavenly Kings, which revealed to be the reincarnation of King Edmund, basically Tuxedo Mask character, basically his knights, because they died at the end of the season. Now they're just spirits, and they only appear in these gems. Basically, they can still be there in an advisory faction. That's pretty much their purpose, and they appear for one episode, which I do appreciate the fact that I do not remember from the manga him actually doing that, but I do appreciate the studio who made the series doing that, because that was a really good continuity nod. The fact that, yeah, these gems are still around. You can still call upon these guys anytime you feel like it. Which also begs the question, does King Edmond still have these crystals in the 30th century? Yeah, there's like many questions about 30th century. Basically, I don't think even the original writer had time to tell, aside from the fact that no one died in 1,000 years, crime has virtually vanished, and Sailor Moon, Tuxedo Mask basically are rulers of the planet. Which I'm still questioning, like, how is that even possible? Like, how can they be ruling the planet with all the democracy and all the other stuff that goes on? They must have basically revealed in public at some point that, yeah, Usagi Tatsu basically is royalty. They must have accepted at some point. Yeah, there's like many questions exactly when the heck this happened. Oh yeah, and also there's at one point, I don't remember this happened in manga either. There's this one scene that implies that the one time that Chibiusa spends the night in Mako's Plexima's apartment, yeah, it's implied that him and Sailor Moon had sex. Yeah, because next morning she's wearing a shirt. Yep, because I can tell by the visuals that they had sex. I've seen this in fiction many times, where their heads are, where their bodies are, basically pinned against the wall. Yeah, it's kind of kind of a little more detailed than people expected to see, but I can tell very easily they had sex off screen. Yep. So basically, Tuxedo Mask took her virginity, but there's that. And she's supposed to be 14, he's 17, so still kind of iffy here, but she kind of looks like she looks older than she actually is. But I guess 3 years is not much of a big age difference between these two. And plus, she's an 8th grader, and he's a senior in high school. But yeah. So that's really it for this episode. Stay tuned for part 3. Excuse me. Where I talk about the third. Excuse me. And for now, the final season of the show, because I looked up online. The second to last arc of the series is being adapted into a 2-part film, which, okay, how are they going to adapt 11 chapters into a 2-part film? The only way I can think of is basically doing like 5 or 6, like doing like 4 to 5 chapters for the first film, and have the second movie be adaptation of chapter 6 to 11. But who knows how they're going to do? There's only 2 arcs left to adapt for this series. But yeah, and of course, next season is the debut of 3 more Sailor Guardians. Sailor Neptune, Sailor Uranus, and Sailor Saturn. And yes, I do know about the whole thing about Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus being a lesbian couple. I do know all about that. Yeah, and according to Viz Media, they're actually restoring that deleted material. Because apparently, no one liked to see for kids seeing a lesbian couple on screen, despite the fact this was in the original source material and in the Japanese version, in the Japanese sub. Yeah, so until I see you on part 3, or review the 3rd season of the show,